Hello, this is Dennis with A1 Telephone Service and Repair, A1 Electronics. You can get us on the web at www.a1-telephone.com, and you can also reach us at 618-235-6959. Today I want to show you a telephone that Andy brought in. This is a wooden wall telephone. It is a Monarch, and you don't see very many of these Monarchs. Up here on top is where the line cord and the ground would connect, so you had your line. So that's all pretty cool. And right down here you have the transmitter capsule and the spit cup. And this is all glass. That's pressed on. That's not the screw-on type spit cup. That's pressed on. So I'm not sure if you could ever find that again. And if you could, I'm not sure what you'd end up having to pay for that. But it actually has the transmitter inside the back here of it. And Andy wants to try to get as many of the original parts working as possible. We also have the receiver capsule. And this telephone was in Andy's family. It was in a barn. And it has sat in a barn for many years. And you can see here where something has actually chewed on the wood, it looks like to me. The wood looks like it's been gnawed on. Now the crank is missing on the side, and the crank on the inside is gone. Somebody has gotten to that, but it has the original bell here and the workings, so we're going to try to get all that working, and 9 times out of 10 I can make them work again. It's got some original wrenches here that are still in the phone, and they're where they're supposed to be and mounted. The hook switch is here, so that's cool. That gives you a little bit of idea of what this looks like, and believe me, it looks like it's been in a barn, but that's okay, because you want these kind of in the condition that you can get them in. It looks like there's a mud dauber's nest that's been broken off of here. And so anyway, this telephone's in barn condition, but that's all right. This telephone is going to be a great telephone when we get finished with it. We're not going to get real elaborate. These finishes, this telephone could just be oiled basically. You try to make this telephone look brand new, and it just takes some of the neatness out of it. But anyway, we'll get this telephone looked at and squared away. This is kind of just the initial check out of this telephone. And like I said earlier, you don't see many of these Monarchs around, and they're hard to find. And I don't know exactly what you would end up having to pay for something like this voice capsule here. The other Monarchs that I've worked on in the past, which is quite a few, usually has a spit cup that screws into place. And this spit cup is actually pressed, this glass is actually pressed onto the metal transmitter encasement. So we're going to try to get most of the original parts that we can working on this telephone, and hope that we get some quality out of the receive and transmit, and hopefully we'll be able to get the bell in a working condition. And usually I can work on the bell and get it to ring and make it work like it should. So this is just kind of an initial check out of a Monarch wooden oak telephone. It's a wooden wall telephone, and it's got some things missing in it, and Andy can always, if he decides to get a crank for this, the magneto or whatever, you know, that's fine. But at this point he's not really worried about that, because it's not something that's going to keep the telephone from working. Another thing, that this telephone will not have a network when we finish it up, basically you're just going to have your bell, your hook switch here, and it's going to be a transmitter and receiver. And we're going to go from there. We're going to try to get it to a point where he's going to be able to use it as an extension phone, and it will ring. But that just gives you some kind of an ideal. You know, there is the coil back here, and we'll try to utilize that, and that's somewhat will balance the telephone out like a network, but we'll have to see how that goes and see how it works. But you can see all the raw connections, stuff that they would never do nowadays because of lightning and people touching this when the phone rang. And Andy doesn't want a modular port installed on this telephone. What he wants is a little modular port installed in this area somewhere, just hanging, so that he can plug a line cord into it. And he's going to mount this telephone on another piece of wood, and when he gets that all designed out and figures out what he wants, I'm going to install another modular port in that piece of wood, almost like a trophy type backboard for this telephone that he's going to mount onto the wall and then mount this telephone on there. Ideally, the best way to really do this telephone would be to hardwire this telephone into position, but he wants just a modular port installed on it right now, just hanging freely here, so that he can plug a line cord in it and utilize the telephone until he gets around doing what he wants to do with a mounting situation. And it'll all work out. But I think this is pretty cool, where the wrenches are actually still here, the original wrenches. Now they've had a mud dauber on them and a nest, if you can see that mud. But the wrenches, that's something that you hardly ever see. So that's a wonderful thing. And we're going to try to utilize as much of the wiring that we can on this telephone. And I really can't turn the telephone around in the video at this point, but in the back of this telephone there's a bunch of wire, and it's all, none of it has any coating on it or any material, and they're always like that. It's from the factory, and they're just bare wire that runs up and down the back of this telephone, and he wants to try to utilize that wire whatever we need to get this telephone in working condition. And we're going to go ahead and do as he's asked and utilize as much of that wire that runs down the back. And it goes to a lot of these connections here that was for the crank and for the hook switch and for the line. It ran, there's no channel in the back of this phone, so it ran down the back and ran in different spots. But we're going to utilize whatever we have to, and that's what Andy wants. So we're gonna do what we can to get that request in. And a lot of times we do that anyway because they want to save. The customer wants to save as much of the original as they can. That's why I don't like changing these wires. These wires are all in good shape usually, if they're left alone, and there's nothing wrong with using them. But anyway, this just gives you a little bit of an idea of the look of this telephone and the condition that it's in, and when we get done with it, it's going to be a working phone. We'll try to get another video of this telephone in after we finish it up, and kind of go from there and show you a working telephone. It won't dial out because he doesn't want it to dial out, but it will be used as an extension telephone. And we'll get a new line or a new receiver cord put on, and we're going to do a cloth cord. And naturally this one's no good any longer, but we're going to replace that. And so anyway, it's just a look at an old Monarch wall telephone, and it's in barn condition, but it came out of a barn. So I hope you enjoyed the video. This is Dennis with A1 Telephone Service and Repair, A1 Electronics, and you can get us on the web at www.a1-telephone.com. voice-telephone.com, and you can also get us at 618-235-6959. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.